All right, folks. So I'm sitting here with a fan of the book, a fellow Purdue graduate. He took the time to come by and say hello and have a chat, and I'm delighted to be here with him. So your question was about kind of the cluster
Yeah.
F word
Yeah.
of being in the Foreign Legion. Uh, yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because I think a lot of the guys that leave initially, and you get a huge sort of portion of them that just leave like the first day or the first week, and most of them are good guys, but they're just
It's not for them.
well, no, it's fear. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's fear of the unknown, fear of failing, right? So you could say it's kind of like the knuckleheads are the ones that stay, right? So, I mean, and it was kind of like me in the book. I wrote about how like I almost wanted them to just toss me out, so I can check off that box.
So you did it. Yeah.
So I did it. Say, hey man, I tried, and they didn't want me. I guess I'm just going to go back into investment banking, or yeah, I mean, whatever,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then they took me, and I was like, oh shit, now I can actually do this. So that was kind of the gist of that portion of it.
Do you keep in contact? At the end of this one, you said you keep in contact with some of the guys from your unit.
I do actually. Thankfully, there's a couple. There's a couple core guys that I did instruction with, and we're band of brothers, and I still see them. Actually, in the upcoming book, I included a section in there on a trip that I made to Managua, Nicaragua.
You mentioned something in there about it.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote an entire piece, which was kind of not even related to the Legion. It was just kind of like me reuniting with a friend. But then I thought, this is a good cathartic ending to the third edition of the book. So I included it in there. So I keep in touch with those guys. It's interesting, and it's a little bit unfortunate also now how technology is such that you can look up people, right? And you can find people that you wish you didn't find.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, you know what, I could drive over there and settle this score once and for all, right? So there was a lot of those guys in the Legion that I've kind of run into in different forums, or they're friends with some of the guys that I was with.
Were they just guys being difficult because they could be difficult?
You were in the military, so I think you understand the mindset. I think the U.S. Army does a better job of taming the sadistic side of the male psyche.
Yeah. There's a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes if you let people get away with stuff, they go too far.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, units have to police themselves, but there's got to be a line.
I mean, you look at the Stanford experiment.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example. These were kids. I mean, these were not trained soldiers, right?
The Canadian mentioned somebody who gets done with basic the training, and they understand French, so they make them like a brevet corporal or like a temporary corporal.
For the foot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
foot, yeah.
Yeah, and he basically said the same thing. They offered this guy to do it, and he's like, no, I need to get, because nobody liked him, everybody hated him because they hadn't done anything, which makes sense. Why would you? That seems like a recipe for disaster.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys can turn out to be exemplary, and a lot of them can turn out to be just bullies, right? Control freaks, bullies, and so forth. And it was interesting because there was one guy from my unit who I didn't particularly like, but he didn't bother me. And he was some scrawny schmuck, right? He was sick. He had physical, problems. He didn't finish the marches. later on, I was surfing YouTube for Legion videos, and I saw that guy as a corporal beating the shit out of some kid for not doing push-ups properly, and I thought, you know what? I mean,
Yeah, he couldn't do them himself, but now he's got.
Yeah, I mean this. Yeah, it was just kind of weird like that. Yeah, that was kind of.
I mean, does the Legion eat its young? I mean,
Of course it does. It absolutely does. Especially now when they're in France and they don't need you per se, right? You're not protecting a fort where every man
Yeah.
with a rifle needs to be out
you need to
there.
depend on him.
Yeah, now, so the issue of desertion is actually becomes an interesting. The dynamic changes because look, when you're in the Legion in Algeria, right? As I said, you depend on everyone there, right? Your ass is on the line. So desertion it takes on a different tone, right? It's more of a betrayal. Here now in France, obviously, it's more like, listen, dude, you're a piece of shit. And if you don't get out of here, we're gonna beat the shit out of you, right? We're gonna make you leave, all right. So that was kind of the dynamic that I was in, right? So in other words, it was kind of like, look, these assholes don't want me here. It's about to go very badly if I dig in my heels and just say no, screw you, I'm gonna stay. This could go very badly. So that's kind of a different dynamic. So, you know, the naysayers and the pundits and the armchair warriors, they need to reconsider where they're coming from.
Oh, of course, and that's why. Because like I said, I've had a fascination, but you've been there. You know what I mean? And if I really would have wanted to join, I would have gotten a plane to join. No, but seriously, I mean, because
Right.
like I said, when I got called back, I was medical said, so do one and everything else like that. I got my letter, and they gave me opportunity to stay home, but I went. And I had to hear, well, I would go. Crew's office is right there. They're calling me back. They need bodies. So, you know. So on, and I know I seem like I'm portraying that a little bit, but it's always been the fascination. But you walked in those shoes.
Right.
So you've been down that path. So you had your reasons for whatever your reasons were.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and until I do that, until I'm there, I've just got to accept what you say, and that's a decision you make. Good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think it was a bad one. You made the decision you made. You know, you had to make for you. And especially if it's a cool kids type of thing, and the cool kids with power, and all of a sudden they decide that the clique, whatever, you know,
Right.
we're better than everybody. That can get old. That can get very old very fast. And you have nothing to protect you. Like you said, you have to make decisions. Was it that adversarial, or was it just the impression I got from the first edition is they really didn't like Americans in the Legion? Is that normally the case, or that's kind of the
Yes, that is the case, and it depends upon the political climate at the time, and the ethnic mix of the people there, right? So, obviously the former Soviet bloc people, just by nature, they just hate you. A lot of it is jealousy. And even in the book, I wrote a little bit about the guys who were just perplexed. Or like, well, why the hell would you join?
And I was going to ask about that too, and that, you know, I mean, once again, perspectives. Because people would ask, why would I want to become a soldier here? It's like you have all this opportunity. Why would you want to limit yourself? Because even here, people see it as, you know, it's been better since the last wars and everything else like that.
Right.
But as far as soldier perception, but before, it's like, why would you join? Why waste your time?
Right. You know, and it's interesting because that's my response to when people say, well, why don't you just join the U.S. military? And I was like, look, one very special reason. This was before 9/11, right? 9/11 changed the dynamic completely, right?
Well, see, the irony of it all, though, and every 5 to 10 years, some reporter from Rolling Stone, or some reporter from Vox, or some, you know, more liberal publication, why do they do it? Because people always want to do it. Because there'll always be people that do it. someplace, and other people, some people have no place left to go. Other people, their country's gone to dump, or they just want to find out. And it's just like, I mean, there wouldn't be this pull for me, and I wouldn't have learned all this stuff if there wasn't something to it.
Sure.
Because I mean, it's the world's oldest profession. I mean, they've always been there've always been religious people, there's always been soldiers, there's always been or a mixture of the three in the same person. But it draws, it does something. Why would somebody leave? Why did that West Pointer walk off the line and go and do it for 5 years?
Right. Oh, you heard about that, right?
Oh, I read about it. I didn't know the guy.
I'm personal friends with him.
He's in Leavenworth right now, right?
He got out.
How long did he serve?
He did 4 years. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We actually did the last year, 2018. We actually did the 10-mile Houston Tough Mudder
Okay.
up in Conroe. Yeah, good fun. Great guy. I mean, he's like, I would describe him as like the perfect gentleman and soldier. Very polite. I mean, just like the cream of West Point. But like me, he had some difficulties, right? I mean, I think for him, he probably had clinical depression. And things just weren't going well for him, and where he was. But I tell you what, I've never met a stronger, fitter guy than him. Because he was just doing. I was sucking wind on this Tough Mudder, and this guy was just doing laps. I mean, around me. And even at one point, he carried me, my fat ass, like a sack of potatoes, like across a football field. It was just amazing guy.
Fascinating. Well, I remember in that one History Channel documentary, the Swords call was like, look, here's a card. You're anywhere in the world, call this number, we'll get you. But there are people who understand that and people who don't.
Right.
Because everybody talks good game. But when the push comes to shove, there's a handful of people that will come for you.
Right. Absolutely.
And now wartime service is a lot different than peacetime.
Right.
And when just kind of like the Algerian analogy, when you're over there, it doesn't matter. As long as it says U.S. here, nobody cares. Even your allies, the Australians, the Brits, we worked a lot with. But, and that pulls you together. And most people, you try to explain, why did you join the military? What was the benefit of doing it? Everything else like that. Because you become part of an extended family. Right. And that's what I always thought that, with the Legion, it seems like a similar job, but more select or unique, if that makes any sense.
Sure. I think, I think what most people don't understand, I would say even especially women, they don't understand about the male spirit and the male essence is our need to protect, to defend, and to be warriors, right? That's inbred in all of us, right? And it's a noble thing, right? If it's geared in the right direction, right? It can go badly. It can go very badly, obviously. And I think that's what the Foreign Legion taps into. Plus, the added benefit of a family, a brotherhood, all these things. You need all that if you're going to get someone to agree to die for this particular thing. Otherwise, they're going to say, "Screw this shit," right?
Did you ever see Tom Hardy did a version of Simon Murray's book? He did a movie.
I saw the movie Simon. I don't know if that's the same one you're talking about.
Tom Hardy. It was before Tom Hardy got popular. It was right before he got huge.
Really? Okay, so this movie was financed by Simon Murray.
Okay, because this one, the one I saw.
I didn't know that. I'll have to check it out.
I don't. If he did, see, that's what I don't get. Because in the movie, Tom Hardy's all reflective about how we're here and everything else like that. I showed that, and I showed a video of Simon Murray to my wife, and he's talking about the Legion and everything else. I said, does he sound like he's sorry for anything he did? No. But you know what I mean? And I don't know if the producers got a hold of it. I mean, the helicopter, they had to use a modern helicopter, obviously, because the budget wasn't that extensive.
Interesting. I should check it out.
But it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but you can, if you look in Tom Hardy's IMDb,
Right.
it's listed under something. I forgot what it's called.
Interesting. Huh.
But I saw that, I'm kind of like, I just, like, even that bad John Claude Van Damme movie I thought was kind of fun. The sergeant I worked with, it's like, they don't come for you, but they'll hang you as a traitor if you don't have the plans. Okay.
Well, I liked that movie with John Claude Van Damme because it was the classic Legion. All right, and I was drawn to the classic Legion more so than the modern one.
Do you think you had a different experience if you'd been? Now, you were with the engineers when you were there.
Yeah. Use the word engineer lightly, loosely.
Well, I mean, you know,
right.
We used to joke around because we had engineers,
Right.
Combat engineer. 12 Bravo. You know what that means? Ditch digger.
Yeah, they can do a backhoe, right?
And in fact, the sergeant he said, "Yeah, Legion, you're gonna build roads, and you're not doing this
Right.
the old-fashioned way." Okay, it's, but I just thought that the whole even as far back as Bugs Bunny cartoon, because they did that one. It's the same one, whether it's the desert, it's the Revolutionary War, it's the Civil War, it's the same cartoon. They just changed costumes. And I remember watching the last remake of BoJack as a kid. It was a comedy spoof of it.
All right.
And Legion in the desert with the hats and everything else like that. But I think it was the Damn Die Hard talk about their past and their history in Africa. And my friend's is awful, but Raleigh, I'm sure it's Raleigh. He's the one who gave the Legion its history and its tradition and everything else like that.
Right. The father of the Legion.
And there was a book that was written about the golden, Legion in North Africa, 1831 to pretty much 1920s, 1930s. I don't know if they go to the, when the Legion quit Algeria. But it just talks about their history and everything else like that.
Right.
And even the other, John Claude, he did the movie Legionnaire, which is all right. But it's the March or Die principle, which I thought was interesting. And I like how they did the horse thing, ride for 20 miles, you walk for 10, you ride for 10, which is smart. But March or Die because we're leaving. And I thought it captured the desert being as unforgiving as it was. But the goofy one, the pit fighter one where he goes to Los Angeles, he gets, I forgot the name of that one. It was shot in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, Lionheart.
Yeah, Lionheart.
Lionheart,
But
yeah.
but he was still. And there was just this.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is an interesting guy because he obviously he's got a fascination with the Legion. I think he's one of those tough guys that you just never did it, but wishes he did. Like a lot of people.
Do you still celebrate Cameroon?
I gave up drinking, which is a good thing. But that makes celebrating it less memorable. Yeah, I do, and sometimes it just passes me up. And I think it's because who am I going to celebrate it with?
Nobody understands.
Exactly. No, yeah, that's very true. No one understands. Like, yeah, okay, why, and whatnot. I think along those lines, when I saw Calderon in Nicaragua, we agreed. Like, dude, we're gonna road trip to Cameroon in Mexico.
Did you go?
And celebrate. We haven't done it yet. Yeah, I guess.
There was, I forgot who on. I don't know if it was the official page on Instagram or not, but I think it was the 3rd Infantry Regiment was there. I wasn't on camera one day, but they went to the monument or whatever,
Right, yeah. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
there's a huge monument there.
which is beyond, considering the history and everything else behind it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Mexicans were very gracious about
Yeah.
the whole incident.
And they're very proud people, proud of their history. And you know, it's very few times that you put a monument to a foreign unit that was fighting you, that was taking over your country from a foreign power.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
that's kind of different.
Yeah.
Now, they sent you the engineer unit, or did they give you a choice, or was it congratulations, we need bodies?
It was kind of like, you suck, so we're going to send you to the least desirable unit, right? The second reg. And like I wrote the book about, I mean, most of the guys in my unit were just sent off to the reg, you know, because it was new, it was undermanned, so they just needed to like fill it up. What I do wonder nowadays, and I still don't know, is whether it's up to par now with like the second ray or the other, you know, more well-established units.
And the only, I would almost, I don't know, but I'm just applying logic. I'm just thinking, because they're fairly operational now. Because they send units to Afghanistan all the time.
The reg, yeah, interesting. They are very operational, and I think it's because they're handy. You know, they do a lot of handiwork. I wouldn't say that they are. They see a lot of action, but they certainly get deployed.
Well, the point is the combat zone, send away people out.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're just building bridges, you know.
But you're still in the crosshairs.
Yeah, you know, you leave wherever, they're going to try to torture you.
Yeah, yeah.
So especially, I mean, and I'm sure that there's because of its history, everybody wants to kill a legionnaire. I'm sure. Unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, you know what's interesting is the 13th DBLE in Djibouti. They moved, which is kind of sad. I mean, because that was like their home.
Where'd they get reassigned to?
A whole bunch of places. They got moved around. At one point they were in freaking the UAE, you know, next to like probably casinos and tourists and all that kind of stuff. But they finally found a place in France to put them there, but there was huge resistance. Like nobody wanted them in their backyard.
I can understand.
I
mean, you know, France's forced projection in Africa. It's one of the last continents where France has serious influence. In parts of Central America, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but as far as the world stage, they still have traditions in Chad and Central, you know, Congo. So, you know, that was probably the most forward deployed unit they could probably stage out of there. And I had a friend who was actually stationed in the Horn of Africa, near close to everything. Or she was deployed in the Horn of Africa, Djibouti. And it's a great place to train. You don't care if you blow something up because there's nothing to blow up. I mean, when we trained in Kuwait, it was the same thing. We could get away with stuff because it was the desert. You know, and out there was pretty, everything else like that, but there was nothing, you know, you didn't have to worry about blowing up buildings or disturbing civilians. We just had to make sure if anybody was, you know, if Bedouins or people were out in the desert, we, you know, please don't go out there. And then we could do whatever we want.
Right.
You couldn't do it at Fort Hood just because there were restrictions for all the right reasons.
Right.
See, and now they were a half brigade pretty much, right?
Yeah.
2,500 soldiers-ish.
Yeah. I don't even know how big a brigade is. But yeah.
That was like their footprint to go places that they needed to, right?
Yeah, certainly.
And they had their own logistical chain right there, or at least a decent logistical base to kind of push out if they needed to.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the movie Beau Travail.
I've not.
Have you heard of it?
I've not.
Okay, check it out. I think you can even watch it on YouTube. I think it's free on YouTube. It's about the Foreign Legion in Djibouti.
Really?
Yeah, really nice film. It's not your war bloodson. It was made by a female filmmaker, and it's more of a story. It's a story based upon Melville's Billy Budd.
Okay.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. It's quite enjoyable.
Is it all subtitled, basically?
Yeah, it's all subtitled. Yeah.
I just the whole. How was the food? Was it really the bowl of coffee and bread in the morning?
It really was.
Was the coffee decent, or was it just brown water?
Well, you know, the thing about the Legion is that they're kind of extreme. All right, if it was Cameron Day or Christmas, they would give you the very best Parisian level catering. But for the soldiers, you know, I rarely ate my meat because it was just grizzle. I mean, basically, it was just like, you know, probably the lowest grade from the you know, the butcher shop. That's just kind of how it was. But on the other hand, the presentation was always very nice. You know, they had these nice plates, and they had the little salad with the vinaigrette dressing. So, yeah, it was hit and miss. It was hit and miss. But what's interesting is that it wasn't the army slop where they just give you mess tin and slop it on. No, it was done the French way.
Did Christmas all is forgiven too?
Did Christmas what?
All is forgiven too.
Christmas only for a day, and then it was remembered the next one.
So you could have fun, but you had to watch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. In my book, I wrote how I was totally screwed out of Christmas celebrations. You know, they put me in some guard room, and it was just, yeah. But typically that's a very, very special day in the Legion.
And so like Cameron Day too. Once the party started, they kind of left you alone till 6 o'clock the next night.
Yeah. There you
Must
go.
be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I talk to the Marines who do the Marine Corps ball. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the kind of, you know, as long you can't go to the colonel and tell him to jump in the lake, but you know, if you want to jump out of second story window into the pool, as long as you don't hurt anything, nobody really cares.
There you go. Sounds like tail hook.
I mean, I just, you know, you think your life is better or worse for having the experience?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Better, definitely. I'm glad I did it. Fascinating experience.
Had to be.
And at the same time, I mean, you see some very dark things, right? And it's not just violent things. It's really just kind of it's the darkness that lies in all of us. All right, it's the heart of darkness, as Joseph Conrad said.
I mean, you see it, and when it's like, especially here, we live in a very civilized, safe society.
Right.
And you go to a country or you meet people where they will kill you for your shoes because they have nothing.
Right.
And it's nothing personal. It's not that they live in a bad country. It's just they're trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know, they could care less, you know, if it's the gold watch or the black watch. They just need a watch.
Yeah.
And now, did you bump around Europe before the Legion, or?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I was a total backpacking bum. You know, I wasn't ready for the work life. Actually, to be honest, I'm still not ready for work life. But I digress. Yeah, I definitely bummed around Europe a lot. You know,
How was the Millennium? It was in Paris, right? Or was it England? I forgot.
It was in London. Yeah. I managed. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing to say that I was in, you know, like this world city when the new millennium came around. That was really interesting.
And not to get you into trouble, but you still keep in contact with any of the female characters of the books?
Gosh. No, they've kind of vanished. I mean, Listen, like they say, love is easy come, easy go.
You're 25, 26, 27
Right.
in Europe. You're able to save a little bit of money. Things happen. Well, like I said, we talked about perspectives. That's why I like the second book. I like both. But
Yeah.
it's I was in Tombstone a month ago, about 3 weeks ago. And last time I've been in there was when I was in junior high.
Right.
So I kind of got to do a little self-reflection, from what has changed from here to there and everything that's kind of gone on. And I thought it was interesting, like in the book, as we discussed, it's kind of okay. You could tell you've matured, not that you were immature, but life experience, you see life through a different lens.
Certainly.
And I thought it was just perspective-wise, it was different, but different. It was very relatable to me because we're about the same age,
Yeah.
give or take. And I thought it was very, very interesting. Just because the things that bother us at 25 now.
You probably noticed that there's a slightly more spiritual tone in the second edition, and it's like you said, it's based upon these, and I talk about the temporal aspects. All right, you're Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I say temporal, you know what I mean. It's fleeting, right? And my amorous adventures, and then it's fleeting, right? It doesn't stay with you, right? My mates, all right, my brothers, those guys, they stuck around to the very end. That's the takeaway from a lot of that.
Well, those, they have their place. They're the warm memory when you're sitting on the beach and you think back. But that's what they're there for. It is what it is. And I just thought that was kind of interesting because
I'm gonna edit that out, by the way. I'm kidding.
But the thing about it is, like I said, I'm old enough to appreciate what was happening when I was that age.
Right.
Okay, nothing lasts forever, but there were different times, different people. You take the experience for what it is.
Right.
I'm not being dismissive of it, but at the same time, you
Right.
can't hop in a time machine.
Right.
So then why not? Have you ever watched The Pacific?
The Pacific.
Yeah.
No.
It was HBO series on World War II.
No.
The Pacific.
No.
Talks about basically he follows the story follows 3 Marines throughout different parts of the war.
Mm.
And World War II is my favorite subject as far as history. I read a ton on it. And they had this 1st Marine Division gets done with Guadalcanal, which was not a fun fight. And the guys who survived get sent to Australia to rescue and refit. Well, all of the Australian men of fighting age are all in North Africa. So all these Australian girls there. And, one thing leads to another. And I had no idea that happened because I never looked at that part of the war. And I was joking around with my wife. I said, and I even told a couple other fellas, I said, right, when that debuted, it was on TV, right now there are 90 plus year old men that have a lot of splaining to do. Because there are guys say, no honey, it wasn't me, I stayed at the racetrack. Look, you're 21, 22, 1990, you survived Guadalcanal, and you're alive. What else are you going to do?
Very true. But one of the messages I probably didn't get across in the book, but I wanted to, was a lot of people who read the book are like, oh, okay, there's a lot of tits and ass, all this kind of stuff, and there is that, but that wasn't the intent. I think for me the intent was really to kind of contrast savagery and sexuality, and often they're synonymous. It's the same damn thing.
What else are you going to do with your time? You train in this hyper-intensive outfit environment where you're deprived of certain things because hard living makes hard soldiers. And God forbid they ever have to send you, they're going to send you to the lousiest place they can because they don't care if you die. That's my understanding and belief. So when you get done with that, you can blow off steam. 23, 24, not attached, and it's a pretty blonde girl smiles at you and says hello. I'm not, endorsing promiscuity, but I remember it was like being that age.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have free time, and you're away from everybody yelling at you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just thought that was, I remember it was like that. And
One of the other things along those lines is a lot of artists have kind of done this in a much better way, but contrasting sensuality with brutality, right? So in one moment, I'm getting my teeth kicked in by some guy, corporal's boot, and then the next moment, I'm in the arms of a fair maiden. It's that contrast and kind of how that plays upon in your mind. And also, obviously, also how that squared, or obviously didn't square with my Catholic beliefs of how that should be done.
it's okay, this is going to sound silly, but do you watch Game of Thrones at all?
I'm the only person that hasn't.
Well, this last season, they've got this big fight coming, and they're all getting together before this big fight. And it's not going to be good. They know it's not going to be good, so they're enjoying that last little bit of civility before they go. Well, it's a terrible fight, and people who survive enjoy it. And there's one guy, he hooked up with this girl, and this other guy's there, where's she at? She's in the stable. And the guy says, well, I don't want that. I said, of course you do. You're alive, she's alive, the dead are dead. And that's very basic, but at the same time, there's got to be some sort of balance, and there's got to be some sort of control.
Right.
And you have this side, and you have that side, and this, the sweets. I did this stuff in the army, so that people on this side wouldn't have to do what they're about, because they don't want to see the other side of what goes on.
Right.
And I always tell my students, I'm like, look, the person you see before you is not the person that was over there. Well, what do you mean? I said, the stuff that goes on here, I wouldn't talk. What do you mean? It's like, when I asked the question over there, I wasn't asking to be entertained. I wasn't asking to make myself feel smart. I wasn't asking to irritate you. I was asking because I needed information to make sure somebody came back in one piece. So I didn't not have time for your bad mood, your bad feelings, or your playing game. And my tone would change, and I'd look at them like, oh, listen, it's a different world. But I did that so people don't have to. Because once you jump in that world, it's a side that, like you said, it's not, I don't know, hard darkness, but it's that little guy we all let out when we need to. But very people admit that they have that person in them. And having the balance, like, you get to bounce around between the tourists and everything else like that, and you're in Paris. Why not? You're not married. You know what I mean? You have to have something to balance what you're doing. And you go from one extreme to the other.
Absolutely. But along those lines, the interesting thing is that I was lucky enough to have gotten the girls the old-fashioned way, you might say, right, without paying, so forth.
Yeah.
But there were some pretty sad cases of men who just could not. They were soldiering monks. I mean, because that's all they knew how to do. They could not function as social human beings, and they were essentially the yeomen of the Middle Ages, right?
But that goes back to everybody's got their place, though.
Right.
Some people, it's like, the religion is their home, and that's where they want to be. The army is their home. They're going to do that for 20